Hi again then guys, and welcome to, of course, another full movie reaction here on the channel. This time, we're going to react to my favourite movie, John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. I might do a reaction to the 2011 version at some point, because I actually do like certain things about that film. But you might notice that this is a little bit laggy. I don't really know what more I can do about that, apart from getting, I guess, a better computer, because, as you can see, this is a 4:3 image. It's not particularly high resolution, so, I don't know. There's not much else I can do. It's not even filling the full screen, so there you go. So, you'll have to put up with that for now. I will work on that to try and improve it in the future, but until then, we can still go on with the show, of course, and without any further ado, let's get into The Thing. For those of you who haven't seen The Thing before, of course, I would strongly recommend checking it out before you watch this reaction. Kind of goes without saying. But yeah, I adore this film. It's, to some degree, a movie which I use kind of as a standard bearer compared to other movies.
Get a hold of somebody. Get a hold of anybody. We gotta report this mess.
Look, I haven't been able to reach shit in 2 weeks.
Diabetes.
Nobody's talked to anybody on this entire continent.
See, the reason why I'm so harsh on certain movies' characters and writing in a lot of monster and horror movies that I check out is because the standard of some movies like this mean that you can do better. Movies like this prove it. They're characters who feel real. They have genuine disagreements with each other. They're not friendly all the time. They're sometimes not even friends at all. They just have to work together. But at the same time, none of the interactions and none of the disagreements feel forced. And they don't feel plot-driven. They feel natural.
Shit, Doc, I'll give you the lift. No problem. Forget it, Palmer. Hey, thanks for thinking about it, though.
Easily my favourite dog in cinema history. Controversial take, I know, there's a lot to choose from, but who'd have thought that a dog could be as good an actor as this one is? Possibly the most iconic 2 notes since Jaws. Bum bum.
Come on, Doc.
Bum bum. One of my favourite things about the creature as well, and this is something which actually inspired me in some of my creations and even drawings and stories and stuff, is that, to me, the greatest movie monsters are the ones that are almost formless. They're kind of, they change from scene to scene, or, I mean, there are 2 ways of doing it. You can either have a creature like The Thing, where it never looks the same twice. That's a fantastic way of doing it, but some movie monsters don't allow for that. So another alternative to having a creature that changes is actually to shoot the creature in a way where you can't quite make out everything about it, at least not at first. And 2 perfect examples of that are Alien and Predator. Alien is always the one that I go to, because if somebody asked you to draw a xenomorph, you'd have a rough idea, the head, the tail, but as far as details, unless you're, you know, really into Alien or you're an artist, you probably wouldn't get all of the details, the way it's got like the pipes over the shoulders and the ribs and everything. There's lots of stuff that you can kind of just miss in the way they shoot the film. Likewise with Predator, the way that the movie is shot in stages. First it's invisible, you know, eventually you see its mask, eventually it takes the mask off. It's like these stages of showing off a monster where it's really a trick of sleight of hand, where you keep the audience feeling like you've given them something new, but at the same time you're still holding something back for the next big reveal. And that's a brilliant thing about The Thing as well, because the nature of the creature is just, it's storytelling gold, because it allows you to have this monster which never looks the same twice, and that's so cool. It really is, because it keeps people's attention. Speaking of keeping attention, possibly my favourite scene of the movie in terms of transformations is this one with the dogs. And I've actually got a diorama of this scene as well, one of the, I think it's McFarlane sets. Even the Howling Wind is a character. I love it. That sound design as well. Love it. That distinctive sound that the Thing has, a lot of people actually miss that the Thing makes a noise. You think of certain scenes and certain things that people say, but you don't really think of the creature itself as having a distinctive noise, but it really does. That noise that it makes actually inspired the creature in my second book, Spore, because it's a similar sound to what that creature makes.
I don't know what the hell's in there, but it's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
One of the few things you could say about the movie which doesn't necessarily make a huge amount of sense is why a scientific outpost would be so heavily armed. But, you can forgive it. Mad respect to Rob Bottin, man. He put himself in hospital making the effects for this movie. I think it was because of exhaustion. You can see why. Even that, the way that that little addendum played out, most horror movies would have this in-your-face scene and then quickly jump to the next thing. Carpenter lets it linger. He lets you see the kind of confusion on the characters' faces. I love that.
Absorb them. And in
See
the
that?
process, shape its own cells to imitate them.
Could be wrong, but he just touched his lip with that pencil. He was poking around. Look how close he is to it. I guarantee some point in that scene, maybe not shown, but he probably accidentally touched it. Who knows if some little bits of the thing might be floating in the air. Now, I don't know if that's deliberate, but the camera seemed to deliberately linger on him, tapping that on his lip. Gotta love that Andromeda strain visual style. Speaking of which, I might actually do a reaction to the Andromeda strain, the classic one from, I think, the 70s, 71 or something. Excellent movie. One of my favourites, actually. One of the things that I think modern movies really don't seem to get is how to get this vibe that these older movies from the 70s and 80s had, and some from the 90s, but even then it was already starting to go away. You can make a scary movie now, but there's just something about how clean and crisp modern films are that just doesn't work. This grainy old school camera, you know, especially in the 70s, but even in the 80s, it just adds this layer of, like, I don't know, it's almost like a griminess to the film. There's been some more recent conjecture about the connection that this movie has in concept to the AIDS epidemic. Especially the lack of understanding of it at the time. It could be true. I don't recall if Carpenter said anything about that in the director's commentary or not. I think he might have, actually. One of the reasons why I hold so many movies, even non-horror films, up to a higher standard of writing good characters is because of films like this.
I know I'm human.
You can write characters who make mistakes. Doesn't make them stupid. There's a big difference.
Then you just attack me right now. So some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation.
And here we have possibly the most iconic scene. This and the dogs. It's got to be between those two, but probably this one. And then there was one, and probably my favourite quote from the whole movie. There's a lot of great quotes in this film. I know you gentlemen have been through a lot.
I know you gentlemen have been through a lot. But when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking
And the creature ain't playing around no more. Because this is the first time in the movie where it has the numbers advantage. You don't need to hide when there's only one left. Look at those little chicken wings.
Fuck you too!
It's such a great ending as well because it's actually, in effect, a failure. They lost. They didn't win because they're still going to die. And yet it's one of the most justified failures of an ending ever. You don't feel sad about it. It doesn't feel like a waste of time. I mean, this film really is a masterclass in how to make a tragic ending work. Because the heroes don't win. And yet that's exactly what you feel needed to happen. So many movies don't do that. Lots of horror movies kill off people at the end, but the way they do it just comes off as cheap and makes you feel like, well, what was the point of that then? Whereas with that ending, it suited it perfectly. So yeah, that is my favourite movie of all time. I absolutely love The Thing. It's the standard by which I, compare to other monster movies for the most part. I believe it's still undervalued by many people even today. It certainly has a lot more love than it did. And of course in 1982 it was destroyed by E.T. at the box office. But yeah, it's a fantastic film. Absolutely love it. And yeah, I even love the 2011 version because even though it's not as good and there are some contradictions in there, it does still add to the mythology. And, as far as I'm concerned, any occasion to see more The Thing action, of course I'm going to welcome it. So yeah, overall, if you've already seen the movie, of course, tell me down below what do you think of the film, what do you think about some of the points I made, perhaps some of the theories, and yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, I mean, you've got a lot of it spoiled now, but definitely check it out. It's a fantastic film. You don't even have to be a monster fan. It's just a great movie. So, of course, stick around on the channel for more movie reviews. I've already done a couple that you can watch, and if you're a fan of this, you'll definitely like those reactions as well. Reactions to Black Mountainside from 2014 and Splinter from 2008, and doubtless in the future I'm going to add more to this as well. And I've already got a couple of other movies in mind that I want to do reactions to. I want to do a reaction to The Skin I Live In. I want to do one for Rubber, maybe even for Raw, and a couple of other movies that I really love as well. And don't forget to hit that notification bell, of course, to see my new vids as soon as they're released. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.